1984 is a novel written by George Orwell and is released in 1949. It depicts Winston Smith, a low-level member of the all-governing party, known simply as the Party, as he becomes frustrated by the degree of control the party possesses. Winston begins to write a diary to express these frustrations in a way that won't result in him becoming a thought criminal. 1984 develops key attitudes as well as values which are built up through the book's ability to establish the control of the party. This analysis is drawn from chapters 5 to 8, where each chapter focuses on the element of control the party possesses. Initially, chapter 5 works to show the reader how the party controls language. In chapter 5, Syme talks about the implementation of Newspeak in Oceania. He states that the whole aim of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought, which makes thought crime literally impossible. This shows the level of control the party has, as their language is being designed to make it impossible to even mentally express opposition to the party. The control that the party commands highlights the regime as highly totalitarian to the reader. To develop the attitude that totalitarian regimes are detrimental towards society, Syme states the following when addressing Winston. In your heart, you'd prefer to stick to old speak, with all its vagueness and its useless shades of meaning. Winston's opposition to the party emanate from this quote, as it shows that he doesn't want to move to a world where opposition is inexpressible, and through the fact that Winston is the protagonist and that he is so openly going against this totalitarian regime, it creates the negative attitude towards totalitarian regimes as a whole. Chapter 6 shows the reader how the party is able to control sex and sexual enjoyment, which leads to further development of key attitudes within the text. In the quote, the party was trying to kill the sex instinct, or, if it could not be killed, then to distort it and dirty it. He did not know why this was so, but it seemed natural that it should be so. We are shown that the party has heavy control and can even affect sexual intercourse between partners. The fact that there is no observable reason of this further highlights the control exercised by the party. This shows the risk of the totalitarian regime, and by demonstrating the control as seemingly meaningless just for the sake of control, the negative attitude which has been developed by the reader is simply further accentuated. The element of control displayed in chapter 7 is the party's ability to control the past, which further accentuates a negative attitude towards totalitarianism, but also brings about the emergence of the value of freedom in the book. In chapter 7, Winston muses about how the past had not only changed, but changed continuously, in order to fit the party's version of events and false confessions. By demonstrating how the party changes the past to fit its agenda, the control of the party is further shown. This control is built upon by saying how the immediate advantages were obvious, but the ultimate motive remained mysterious. The mysterious motive behind the control makes totalitarian control not as relatable to the audience, and this lack of relatability enhances the negative attitude towards it. This lack of relatability also forces the audience to consider other polar ideas such as freedom and the value of freedom within society, which is the initial emergence of the value of freedom within the text. Chapter 8 is the final chapter which illustrates the control of the party, and it is the most effective in demonstrating the attitudes and values. It shows the control the party has on society and Winston. In this chapter, Winston questions an old prole about life before the revolution and revisits the antique shop in which he purchased his diary. This leads to him encountering a room without a telescreen before finally returning back to his house. On his return home, Orwell juxtaposes his house with the antique shop. He He does this by first drawing attention to a lack of a telescreen in the antique shop, and then by immediately highlighting the singing of the telescreen upon Winston's return home. This juxtaposition outlines the telescreen very plainly to the reader, forcing them to consider and place increased value on their own freedom. In addition to this, the power of the telescreen is displayed by the simile. Her voice seemed to stick into his brain like jagged splinters of glass. This simile shows the lasting control of the telescreen and subsequently the lasting control the party has on members of society. And through the comparison to jagged glass, the negative attitude is fueled to a new peak. In summation, by demonstrating the absurd amount of control the party possesses, 1984 is able to manufacture a heavily negative attitude towards totalitarian regimes, as well as accentuating the value of freedom in society. In a time plagued by Nazis and the Soviet Union, the book ultimately served as a stark reminder of the dangers of a totalitarian and all-powerful government.